So welcome to all of you. So the program is what are your workforce needs? If there's one consistent struggle that I have heard since joining the Chamber in 2018, it is the difficulty that Franklin County businesses have filling vacant positions. There was much attention paid to this problem by so many of our partner organizations. Back in 2019, GCC started convening the Future of Work Advisory Group that brought all the players together. Workforce and employment agencies, businesses from across all sectors, financial institutions, colleges, schools, and chambers, to discuss these challenges in a forum that led itself to open discussion and anecdotal evidence. And then the pandemic hit, and all of those challenges were exacerbated to entirely new extremes. Everyone here today knows this. One of the agencies that stepped up the most during the crisis was MassHire as the leading employment agency in our region. Today is an excellent opportunity to hear how our region, through MassHire, is being innovative in its approach to solving this problem. One of their biggest steps is the creation of a new position through MassHire that has been filled by an old friend. I'm so happy to introduce Jennifer Droesch, the new market maker for the Pioneer Valley.
Thank you, Diana, for the wonderful introduction. Of course, I'm much taller, so hold on 1 second. Let me adjust. There we go. So thank you again, and I want to say another thank you to Shelby and her team because this is an absolutely wonderful site to be at, to be talking with everybody today. Now, before I kind of launch into what the market maker is, I'm going to give you a little bit of background of what MassHire and the system of MassHire really is. When I talk about the MassHire system, there's two parts to it. The first part is actually what falls under the MassHire logo, brand, and umbrella. That's going to be the Workforce Board and Career Centers, which we've already talked about. But then there's also another one called BizWorks. BizWorks works very closely with both the Career Center and Workforce Board to provide additional resources to employers. Now, instead of taking your time and kind of going into the alphabet soup of acronyms that we like to work with, I'm just going to point out that we have these resource guidebooks. I think we still have some in the back table there. Feel free to grab one or two if you like. That reviews a lot of what we have to offer as well as what BizWork has to offer. Additionally, I want to point out over at this table here, so Penny Menard, she is our lead business service representative. She's the one that you want to contact if you have hiring needs. They do a lot of customizing as far as being able to post the jobs, run job fairs, do recruiting and retention, and a lot more. So I highly recommend going and talking with Penny if you have any hiring needs you would like to address. Now, kind of going back and talking about the MassHire system. So we talked about what actually falls under the umbrella of the logo. Now, the other part to this MassHire system are the connections. The connections are not only with the local Chamber of Commerce's, like we have with Diana, but also with our CDCs, Community Development Corporations. And I do apologize if I get a little acronym heavy, please wave me down. I live in this world and it's hard to remember not to fall into it. We also have, besides the CDCs, we work with all of our training providers in the area, GCC being one of the main ones. Again, there we go, acronym. Greenfield Community College. So working with Greenfield Community College, working with these training providers, and working with a lot of other network connections throughout all of Massachusetts. One of the benefits that I have as being the Pioneer Valley market maker is that I get connected with the other 6 market makers across the state. We get to share resources. Those resources are translated into funding dollars for our employers. And that's really what I want to talk about. What are the funding dollars that we have available to you? Now again, I can launch into a plethora of acronyms in regards to what type of grants are available. Now these grants that came about, actually I should say this backwards, they have always been in existence. They were usually funded through unemployment insurance taxes, but with the ARPA dollars, the American Rescue Plan Act dollars, they were infused with an additional $120 to $125 million. So that means we have a lot of funds. And surprisingly, the state of Massachusetts had a great level of self-awareness and said, hey, we have all this money we're putting into these training grants, but we're really bad about advertising this to the public. So let's come up with a position that's going to get out there and sell these grants to people. It's not really selling them to you because it's free access and it's actually money you get paid. So that's where the market maker came in, and that's what I've been building up on and promoting and working with the training providers on as well, because these are training dollars. So my ask to you is, if you have training needs, if you have employees that you want to upskill, or new employees that maybe need that little bit of extra training, come speak with me, because we probably have some training dollars that we can work with you on. Or I can connect you with Greenfield Community College. For example, I'm going to go into another acronym, Workforce Training Fund Program, WTFP. It's funded through Commonwealth Corporation. Greenfield Community College is a training provider that is approved under this. And Alex, I'll have Alex give a little wave here. She works at GCC. She can actually do some customizable training programs if there's one that's not already in existence at GCC. So now that I've covered some of the training costs and the partnerships that we talked about, I want to highlight a few of Greenfield Community College's successes. And the reason being is Mass Hire and GCC have been working together for many, many years. And so we have actually had a number of very successful partnerships and programs that are either new or long-standing. Talking about some of the long-standing partnerships is the Advanced Manufacturing and Manufacturing Training. So since January of 2021, so this is in the height of the pandemic, we're talking about 57 participants that completed the Foundational Manufacturing Program. From there were 21 participants that completed the Advanced Manufacturing Training Program. We also had 49 participants complete the CNA, or Certified Nursing Assistant Program as well. There's additional partnerships that we've worked with them on, including a new one called the Behavioral Health Workforce Training. We also have a medical assistance apprenticeship that GCC does in conjunction with Smith Folk. There's also what's called the Learn to Earn grant and partnership that they do in conjunction not just with our Mass Hire, but with Mass Hire in Hampden County and Holyoke Community College. Talk about amazing collaboration. HCC and GCC are supposed to be basically enemies of each other, but here they are coming together to work and create a great workforce system for everyone. So that's kind of the gist that I want to talk about, and now I want to go into a little bit of the Q&A part. So Diana talked about how Mass Hire has been really trying to reach out and engage employers to learn what your certification needs are, what your training needs are, what your hiring needs are. So at this point, we're going to kind of make this a dialogue, and we're going to walk around and ask you questions, and hopefully some people will be willing to come up and speak, or I think we've got a portable mic that we can use. The first question that I'm going to ask, and by the way, if you don't get the opportunity to actually speak out loud, there should be pens and paper in front of you. I apologize for this table over here, I ran out of pens. But everybody else is going to have some pens, and you should also have the GCC flyer. Looks like this. Of course, there's my paper. Side is blank, so if you want to take any notes or if you want to leave us any comments, we can go ahead and do that. At the end, I'll have Sophie Martin. Of course, I got her just as she's drinking water. Sophie Martin will be there to collect everything for you at the end. Now, going into the very first question, let's talk about what are the specific licenses and or certifications that you're looking for in your employees. I'm going to walk over and grab the mic. So again, the question is, what are types of certifications, licenses that you are looking for in any new employees? And to give you an example, so we recently had an employer roundtable with several local HVAC employees, and they let us know about a license I had never heard of before, but is the very primary license that you need to become an HVAC individual in Massachusetts. And it's called the Oil Burner License. Did I say that?
You
Okay.
did it.
Thank you. Like I said, just learned it yesterday. So does anybody else have other certifications or licenses that they need in order to kind of get somebody in the door and working under your umbrella?
I have a question. I'm just curious, just generally, do you help with people getting childcare or daycare licensing? Because finding childcare is really, as you know, one of the main barriers to employment, and there's not many in Franklin County. Is that one that you help people if they want to open a daycare?
Yeah, absolutely.
In-home daycare?
Yeah, so, and obviously Kristen's over there shaking her head
Yeah.
because they have a child care
Early
program, early education program that they offer. And as far as where the funding streams come through, this is where Mass Hire and GCC do a lot of partnerships with. So So we have some funds and GCC have some funds. So we'll partner together to get those certifications out for childcare approved individuals.
Yeah.
So since it doesn't look like we have much to talk about with those certifications, I'm going to move on to the next one, which I'm sure we'll get a little bit more dialogue and discussion with. The first one is, what are the hard skills and soft skills you're looking for? So soft skills being things like customer service, hard skills being like, do you know how to use a forklift? If anybody's willing to share, I'll go ahead and give you the mic. Quiet
We are a
crowd.
quiet group.
Oh, okay, we got one.
All right. That's a good one.
Rebecca, looks like Rebecca's shaking her head. Yes, we do. So again, a lot of the certifications, they're on a case-by-case basis, which is why we wanted to have this specific conversation. We want to know what certifications do we need to start promoting, what are the most needed. And I don't know if Rebecca wants to add additional information to that. No? Okay. All right, yes.
I'll just say, as you're thinking about these things, that water treatment is a really great one that you mentioned. There is such a need, and it's, thank you, sorry. It is the, at this moment in time, thanks to some of that additional funding that Jen mentioned, our workforce training program is really in a good shape to innovate and build new programs. You can't say that all the time, but the funding is there for that right now. So those high demand, critical jobs to be filled, those are the kinds of things that we're looking to do. So we're really making an impact, and we don't want to miss this next 36 months of financial opportunity for us to really make some economic change to the region.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's actually a great reminder. So the ARPA funds, as a reminder, does expire in, I think, June of 2025. So that does mean we have limited amount of time to work on this, which is why we really want to know what kind of skills can we prepare employees for to get in your door. So moving on from the hard and soft skills, my bread and butter, training needs. What are your training needs? First question is, what is your bandwidth for training new employees? And I ask this because I've been meeting with a number of employers that go, I just need a warm body in the door, right? And I feel like a lot of people are kind of in the same boat. And what we can provide with you is additional assistance to get those grant funds, to get that leeway to have the time and expanse to do other things than just training and running around like a chicken with your head cut off, because that's what I feel like everyone's doing right now. So again, who here has the time to spend, let's say you got a new person on board, who here has the time to spend 20 hours a week with that individual to train them in your daily operations? No one? How about 5 hours? You have 5 hours a week you can give them? No? Okay, how about an hour every time? You squeeze in, like, take out that third lunch break that you were trying to take but can't because you're squeezing everybody else in. Yeah. Kind of what I thought. So if you don't have that bandwidth for training, then let's work together to see if we can pair you up with people that do the training for you. Or let's see if we can pair you up with somebody like Penny to do on-the-job. Yeah, she's developing on-the-job training. That's the other thing that we work with. Penny does on-the-job training, which means they go to your business, they learn a little bit about your business, and then they assist you with the training outcomes or training results for that, as well as helping to pay for a portion of the individual's wage. How awesome is that? And that's not just the only training fund out there. organization, do you see your employees growing and being successful and staying with the organization? We'll do this by a raise of hand. Who feels that they're pretty successful at training their new employees? Okay, I would say that's maybe 10%, which is a little shocking. Who here would like to see their programs, their training programs expand and grow and become better? Okay, yeah. Yes, all right, awesome. So that's really great to hear, and I would definitely highly encourage you. I also have my business cards on the table back there. I'd highly encourage you to contact either myself, Penny, or Alex, and we'll be more than happy to see if we can work out a way to increase your training and onboarding programs to be more successful.
Jen, can I give an example of something that maybe you're talking about? Just because I think it sometimes helps for people to be able to envision something. So I'm going to talk about the behavioral health training program that we designed. And so we got together a lot of, across the Pioneer Valley, a lot of the behavioral health employers who have similar entry-level positions that they were really struggling to fill. And we got a grant that was going to pay to do the recruitment and the initial skills training. So we talked to those employers who shared some goals together. So they didn't have the exact same people that they were looking for across all of their different programs, but there was a lot of similarity. And so we designed a training program that was going to last 7 weeks and that was going to give people some workplace readiness skills
Yes.
Hi, I'm at Franklin County YMCA, and just these couple examples are making me think, is there any way to do something more seasonally? Like this time of year, a lot of places are looking for lifeguards, and we're all competing for lifeguards. You've got your beaches, your town beaches, camps, our facility, and that age group, 18 and older, but the lifeguard certification is very expensive. There aren't many pools, we don't have a lot of instructors, you also need CPR. So that kind of, is there any way to think about, not all the time, but more seasonally when a lot of people, a lot of organizations are looking for the same skill set, same certification?
So I'm gonna also grab your card later because we're gonna talk about, love the acronyms, WCTF, Workforce Competitiveness Trust Fund. That is something where at least 3 employers come together saying, hey, we wanna pair up with this training provider, and the Comp Corps will reimburse up to 70% of the cost of the training itself. So that is definitely something we can work with, and the only thing I will say is you wanna start planning that if you want to invest.
I'll put in a plug too for our youth programs, and so even though it might not meet the immediate need, we have a really robust youth program, both YouthWorks and VOA Youth. And one of the things that we're currently looking for is work sites for our youth to go and have internships that our programs will pay for. So they will be paid interns, but they want to intern at different work sites in the community. And so if you have the capacity to, and they'll get case management and some of the work readiness skills from us, and then they'll have a work experience that we will pay for. But we need employers to partner with us on that. And then that kind of thing, especially if you're working at an agency that has youth programming, it seems like, you know, you could cultivate some longer term. So if you got somebody in a summer program, that would be an audience to say, hey, maybe next year you want to think about being a lifeguard and start the process there.
And just to really clarify, when they say that it's a paid internship, the employer is not paying.
No, right. Our program pays the internship. We just need employer partners.
Yes. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you so much for the engaging in the discussion. And again, let's check out the augmented training, augmented reality training.
I think you could, we'll actually be able to hold a heart in your hand if you're so inclined, yeah. On the machine that they have back there, you will literally be able to hold a heart in your hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And Jennifer, thank you very much. That was really cool.